Hi guys, so now we're going to move on to the second part of the video, which is making the applique details for the hat. We need to make two eyes, which are going to be two right-angled triangle shapes. We can manipulate these a bit when we're appliquing them onto the hat to make them sort of a bit more curved at the bottom, so we don't have to worry about the straight edges on them at the moment. For this, I'm going to be using a DK yarn in black. And I must apologise throughout this video because black is the hardest colour to work with because you can't see the stitches. It's almost impossible. So I really do apologise if you can't see much from this video. Hopefully it will make sense. And then I'm going to be using, oh, wrong way around, my 4mm hook. So I guess I've got another one of these to make. I'll get on and show you how I do it. So as per normal, we're going to start off with a slip knot. It doesn't matter how long the end of your non-working yarn is because we can just hide that underneath the applique detail. So if you only wanted to leave it a couple of centimetres, that would be absolutely fine as well. Just make sure you've got enough length on there so that it won't come undone. And then put everything on the hook, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. From here we are going to create a treble stitch, and I know for many of you this will be the first time that you're doing a treble stitch, so I'll show you how to do it. Very similar to the half treble that we were doing on the hat. So yarn over, and we want to go into the third stitch away from the hook, and I know I'm so sorry how difficult it is to see. So we've got one stitch here, the second one here, and the third one here. So we want to go into this third stitch. So we're going in here and pulling up a loop. And this is where the stitch is different to the half treble, because we want to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on our hook only. And from there, we will yarn over again and pull through the next 2. And that is our treble complete. From here, we want to chain another 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And that is row 1 complete. So from here, we are going to do 2 trebles on this round. So we'll yarn over and we'll skip those 3 chains that we've just made and go into that first stitch. So 1, 2, 3. We're going into this one. And then 1 more. I can't see what I'm doing now, so I'm surprised if you guys can see what I'm doing. Pull through and then pull through again. And now we should have 3 stitches at the end of that row. Once again, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn back over again. For this one, slightly different. I'm going to do 1 in my first stitch. And then I am going to do 2 trebles in my next stitch. One, and then back into the same stitch. And there's another. So we've just completed row 3 and we've now got 4 stitches. We need to chain 3 again. So from here we want to start doing stitches into the bottom of our base chain, which means where we have got 3 chains that we have just done, we need to put our first treble into the third chain away from the hook on those 3 chains that we have done. and we will end up with 5 stitches at the end of this row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the end you'll notice that you've just got a big loop to go through. And 5. And then chain your 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Turn back over. So we're starting to form that triangle shape now, as you can see. So for the next one, we are going to do 1 stitch in each stitch and then 2 in the final. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 in the next one, 5, and 6, and then make sure to chain your 3. So that's the end of row 5. Turn over again. So for the start of row 6, first one, we're going into that 3rd chain away from the hook again. So that's 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then chain another 3. Same as before, 1 all the way along and 2 in the last stitch for this row to make us have 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, then 5, 6, and 2 in the last one, 7, and 8, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn over again, and this is our last row. So do 1 in each, including the base of your 3 chains. So in the 3rd chain away from the hook, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, I went off camera there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then that is all finished. We've got our triangle shape. So from here we just want to cut a tail of roughly around 40 to 50 centimeters, because we need to be able to use that to applique the detail onto the front of our hat. So I've just cut that one off camera, and then just pull our working yarn through the loop and pull that one as hard as you can, and we've got our second triangle. So for the mouth, I've already got my chains ready, and I have done 47 chains in total. We're going to go back to the half treble stitch that we used in the hat. So make sure you go into the second chain away from the hook, otherwise your chain will fall apart. So we're not going into this one here. It's so difficult to see, I'm sorry. We're not going into this top one here. We're going into the second one here. So yarn over, in through, pull through so you've got 3, and then pull through again. For the next stitch, yarn over, in through the loop, and pull through, yarn over again, and pull through again. We're going to go all the way to the end of the row, and I'll meet you back here when you finish. So I've done my 46 stitches, and that is it for the mouth. So we can cut ourselves a tail to thread through this loop and tie this one off. You need a tail of at least 1 meter, I would say, just to be on the safe side for the stitching that we are going to do. I'm then going to go ahead and to pin my details onto the front of my hat, so I will show you them in a minute. So I've pinned everything on here. I've actually already sewn my eyes on. As you can see, they're a completely different shape from the triangle that we started with. And I did this by, when sewing, I manipulated the applique and pulled it into shape and then sewed it where I wanted it to be. Just an example, because the mouth isn't sewn down at the moment. What I would do is I would almost stretch it, just as an example, because the mouth isn't sewn down. And I'm going to have to do the same for the mouth because it will be the wonky shape. We can just pull things down like that and sew it into place, and then we could pull that one to make the S shape if we wanted to. Just an example, but that is exactly what I have done with the eyes to make sure that they give the impression of the eyes that we want to. Now, following the exact same technique as what I've just described for the eyes, I'm going to sew on the mouth, and I'm going to do this by taking the long tail of yarn that I've got on this side, and I'm just going to sew along the centre of this piece. I'm not going to go all the way around the outside and all the way around the bottom, as there is really no need. Remember, as you're going round, to pull it into place as to where you want it, and once you've got all the way to the end, I will show you what you need to do from there. So I have just attached the mouth to the hat, and at the moment my thread is in the back of the hat. It has come out here, and you want to make sure that you do that and the last stitch goes in through so your yarn is around the back. At this point, if you don't feel as if you have enough yarn left to be able to complete the stitching across the mouth, I would tie that one off in the back and then add some more yarn to your needle and thread in through the back and start again with that one. So for our stitching, we want to create the lines going across the mouth. So we're simply going to come up one side and then make sure it's roughly an equal amount on the other side, but it doesn't matter too much. And it doesn't matter at this point if it's messy on the back either, because obviously you're going to wear it as a hat and you won't necessarily see the other side unless you turn the hat inside out, of course. So from here, I'm then going to go on this side and then down through the other. You can make these stitches as uneven as you like. You can see that that one's slightly longer that time. It doesn't matter how far they are apart either, because it does tend to look a little bit skew. And my thread has just come off my needle. Bear with me. There we go. So I need to do that all the way along the mouth. I'm going to get to the other end, thread the yarn through so it's on the wrong side of the hat and tie that one off, and I'll show you when it's finished. So the mouth is now complete. We've got all that one stitched on, and then we need to do something very similar down the seams of the hat. We need to sew a line all the way up down one side and back down the other, and again do the stitching. This is going to use up a lot of yarn, so be prepared to have to keep tying off around the back when you run out and then adding more in when you need it. The best way to do this is to do a back stitch to make sure that your stitch is continuous. So I will get my yarn attached and I'll show you how to do that. So I've made sure to completely flatten my hat so I know exactly where the edge is, and I've attached my yarn there. This is actually the back of my hat that you can see here. So I'm going to go up this direction. So I have tied that one in and I've left a tail to darn in at the end. We're going to go from underneath So we're going to go from underneath. What we want to do is to just go under and pull up and through. Sorry, I've got that knotted around my hand at the moment. And then we're going to go back into that first stitch, which is why it's called a back stitch, funnily enough, because we're going back on ourselves. So from there, make sure your hat is still flat. And again, we're going to go up underneath and further along. And make sure you're being very uniform with how big your stitches are, how long they are every time. Otherwise it will look messy. And then back in through. So we just need to carry on doing that all the way alongside to the top of the hat and then back down the other side. And then we need to do what we did for the mouth and to do the stitching. So at that point I would attach more yarn if you need to. And again, just go from side to side and then back over, just as I showed you for the mouth. Once you get to the other end, we will have actually completed the hat, so I'll show you how it looks when it's finished. So I guess we're at the end. Well done if you got this far. Let me know in the comments if you think I've judged this pattern correctly by calling it an intermediate pattern. I'd love to know if you thought that this was easy or if this was difficult. In my opinion, the hat itself could probably go down as an easy, but I think it's the eyes and the mouth that make it an intermediate. Actually, more so the eyes. The mouth's quite easy as well. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts and know what you think. So we obviously finished our stitching up the sides there. Ignore my green yarn behind. It is just holding everything up. And yeah, he's all finished. This is him in all his glory. I've absolutely loved making this pattern. I hope you've enjoyed it too. I hope you've understood it. If there's been any difficulties or anything you didn't understand, again, please just comment. Also, it's better if you comment below with the timestamp and just to say, like, if it was at 1 minute 30 seconds you didn't understand what was going on, just put that in your comment and then it'll be easier for me to help you. I guess that's everything for this pattern. I will have more released as soon as I can. I'm always trying to come up with ideas of what I can do next. I like to be able to do stuff that's a bit different, a bit more modern, and different to other things that people have released, because there are a lot of copies out there. So all I can say is, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. That way you can get the notifications for the next free patterns that come out. And again, please just let me know if you like this video or not with a comment below, or if you had any difficulties. More than willing to help with anything. Until then, I guess it's just time to say, happy hooking!